Okay, cool. Okay. So to start out, would you be able to just state your name, the years you attended Westchester, um, graduation date or year, that kind of stuff?
I'm Becky Iscaro, and I went to Westchester. I was there 1980 till actually I didn't graduate until 89. I was part-time for many of those years. So, I attended part-time, but I ended up while I was there working at the Rat as started out as a part-time job, ended up doing full-time, taking classes at night, and worked there for about 5.5 years. So it was a big part of my college life there. Um, Tons of fun. I mean, it was just absolutely fun times there. The Rat was really the social center for the college. I mean, there, other than Jake's Bar and the Square Bar, which I don't know if you're familiar with either of them, but
Oh,
that
no,
was that was about it. And both of those were like old man bars, as they call them, where it was just like go in and sit and drink beers. Where the Rat was really the social hub. Upstairs we had the upstairs bar that had acoustic singers that would come in, and mostly Wednesday nights, Friday and Saturday nights. But a lot of local, people could just come sit and play guitar, in a corner for a couple hours, and it was just like the upstairs was really the quieter bar, and there were a couple TVs on at all times. So, like just kind of they were in the background, and then it was just the music, and people would sit upstairs. But then the downstairs was where all the activity was. We had, I think, 3 bars. There was the big bar and then a couple smaller bars, but this is back when everybody would go out and dance. And, that was, as crazy as it sounds. I mean, people now go, what? You went and just sat and danced at bars, but it was like the big deal to, go there. They had DJs, and it'd be packed. I mean, it was like sardines in there. I mean, and the floor, you'll probably hear this from every single person. I mean, your feet stuck to the floor because there was just, so much spilled beer. But it was just, like that really was the social center, like everybody went to the Rat. I had an apartment. I had 5 roommates or 4 roommates. There are 5 of us all together. And, that would be something that we could all do together. I was also in the sorority, and, the sororities and the fraternities, everybody would go to the Rat. And so, it was dancing, it was drinking, socializing, it was like the, like pickup place. I mean, everybody would go there. But in addition, there was also a deli upstairs, where there was like a deli and pizza. And that's what I ended up like. I started out just, working as a cashier or something. I don't remember what the first role was, but I ended up being the manager. And it, like I would say the late night got a little crazy because, as the bar closed, everybody came upstairs and had to have something to eat. And so, like for the last couple hours of the night, I mean, everybody, it was just like, like it was quick, like you had to get people through the line and get to the next person. And, meanwhile, you have everybody who's had a few too many drinks, like that hanging out on the counter, just like sliding down, like from where they ordered down to where the pizza was. And it would be kind of crazy. But, in addition, I mean, we also, we employed a lot of people, not just students that, like there was a couple, I think it's Goodwill Fire Company, who was right down the street. Some of the firefighters were bouncers there, like they just did it for extra spending money and to hang out. We also had, quite a few just local Westchester people that worked, at the Rat, either at the bar side or on the deli side. And we did a lot of fundraisers. So, we did a lot of beef and beers to raise money for different individuals or different causes. So, there was just always something going on there. But like, Thursday nights were a big night. you know, because most people, like, you know, either didn't have classes on Friday or had late classes on Friday. So, you know, that was a big night. But, you know, some of the, just the, you know, fun of working there. A lot of the people, I mean, like, actually somebody reached out to me a couple of years ago who, like, I've been working in human resources my whole professional career. And somebody reached out to me who is a professional recruiter, saw me on LinkedIn. And, you know, he was one of the people I worked with the longest while I was there. And it was just really kind of funny that, you know, all these years later, and, you know, the girls that I live with in my house, we're all still really good friends and get together, you know, as frequently as possible. I mean, a couple people are in different parts of the country, but there's three of us that are still in the area, and we definitely get together. And you know, like there were many nights, you know, like everybody headed over to the Rat, and you know, we only lived on Dean Street, so you know, it was just like a block and a half away. So, you know, that was part of it. But one of the things I remember when I first got hired, the there was a I guess the manager's office, and there was a wall, and they called it the buddy board. And anybody who was underage who came to the door and the bouncer asked for ID, if they weren't, I'm trying to think how I put it. Like if the bouncer suspected that the person was not 21, they gave them two choices. They could either keep their ID, send them away, and that'd be the end of it, or they could call the cops to verify that it was truly their ID, which normally they'd say, see, ya, you know, let me go get my other license or whatever, you know, and they take off. But if they kept the IDs, they got stapled to a wall, and there was in this office, floor to ceiling, every spot of the wall covered with IDs. And when I first started, you know, like that was one of the things I'm looking in there, and I'm like, you know, could pick out so many people that like I knew that had lost their licenses, you know, trying to get their underage. But you know, they really, you know, I'm sure people did get in, but I mean, while I was working there, I mean, they were very strict, you know, trying to monitor and make sure that people weren't coming in underage. But we, you know, we had fun. Like whenever there was new bouncers, they did what they called the keg rotation, where they made the bouncers take all the kegs, and they told them they had to be rotated, and they had to take them all downstairs to a cooler and take the downstairs ones upstairs. And it would take them a full day to do. And there was absolutely no merit in that, no reason to do it. It was just kind of the initiation. You know, anybody that worked there had to do that. But it was kind of funny because we all knew, like, anytime someone new was coming in, they'd be rotating all the kegs. And it was like, oh, like 40 kegs, you know. So if you've ever lifted or seen a keg, they're heavy.
Yeah.
So that was, you know, just kind of a silly thing. And then, of course, you know, I showed you the pictures of the Rat jacket. And, you know, that was kind of a status thing, like if you had a Rat jacket, because it was only the employees that had them. They did have t-shirts. Like I hadn't seen the white one. I mean, they were black. I had black t-shirts, like all the employees, we had black ones that had the Rat symbol on it. Like there were white and yellow ones. So, but everybody had that, and the bar guys all wore polos, you know, with the Rat. But I don't know if anybody told you about, we used to do the Eagles training at Westchester.
Yes.
And so this is back in the 1980s. And all the, you know, the Eagles would come in every day after practice, and they would just hang out upstairs at the bar. But we had all these video arcades games, like Pac-Man and Donkey Kong, and I don't even remember because I don't play video games, but they would just sit there, you know, these big giant guys playing video games for hours and hours and hours. And there would be like all the, you know, like especially the younger kids would come in and like just sit there and like try to get autographs and stare at them. And they were just, you know, coming in and blowing off steam after a long workout. But it was kind of crazy just having all the Eagles there night after night, you know, just to like hang out and have dinner, or, you know, grab something to drink up at the bar. But they were pretty much only on the upstairs bar. I don't think they ever really went downstairs, because they also all had to be up probably super early, you know, to go practice. But I'm trying to think what else. um, I met my husband working at the Rat, and I think many people probably have the same similar stories. But it was kind of funny. My husband was working at Spaz Beverage, which I think is still there. But his cousins owned Spaz Beverage. And so one of my jobs, because I was there mostly in the daytime, like I would come and open up and get everything, like kind of set up with this other gentleman who was on the bar side. And that's the one who reached out to me as the recruiter, who just happened to, come across my name because being in a similar field. And, we would place the beer order for the day. We would get all the food set up, get all the bars set up, so we opened every day. And, his cousin who owns Spaz Beverage would come in every morning, stop in, get the beer order. And he said, "Oh, my cousin's working with me this summer. I got to introduce you." And I'm like, "No, it's quite all right." And so somehow we ended up meeting like one of the times when he was delivering beer, and started dating shortly after that. And, now we've been married since 1987. So long time.
That's
But,
yeah, that's fantastic.
I'm trying, I don't know what else I can tell you. It was just, it was fun. I mean, it was just, there weren't a lot of places to go. And if you didn't have a car, I mean, it was walkable, so everybody went, whether, I don't know, even if they just wanted to go hang out, like it was just, during the day, it was a lot of like professors, and it was also people that just, wanted to come grab lunch. It was a huge, I mean, like the whole first floor was open for seating for the deli. So, I mean, we had a very busy lunch crowd. And then, the evenings turned into more of a bar crowd.
Okay. You actually hit a lot of my questions already, like perfectly. um, I do have I got a couple specific ones.
Okay.
So okay, well let's start with, you were just talking about like the lunch crowd and that kind of stuff. So back then, Papa John's and Burrito Loco, were they there? They
No,
weren't there,
the
right?
Rat was the whole
Right,
line.
the whole. So wasn't it called the Rat Trap? That was like the um
Well, it's the Ram's Head Rathskeller.
right.
It was the proper name, and the Rat Trap was really kind of the upstairs, like the deli
Okay.
area, is the Rat Trap.
Mhm.
But the Rat, it was just, it was known as the Rat, but it was,
Yeah, the whole
but the proper name was Ram's Head Rathskeller.
right. Now, what kind of food did they have? I've read on advertisements that stuff like the Rat Burger, Super Rat Burger, something about like a 6 foot long hoagie that was like 25 cents during like happy hour. Do you?
Well, that might have been after my time. I mean, we did some 6 foot hoagies, but it was for like fundraiser things, because I can remember them being on a back table, like all lined up, and it was just like, making them like like a production line. um, but it wasn't something that we normally had and sold when I was there. And then, I mean, it was burgers, cheesesteaks, hoagies, and pizza, and of course like fries and stuff like that. But it was a pretty simple menu. And a lot of people would just come in, grab a sandwich and soda and, have a seat and eat their lunch. Did a lot of to go, like if the weather was nice, people could run in, grab, something. This was also, there were no Wawas in the area at the time, like it was the place. I mean, like it really was almost like a campus stop, like everybody went there.
Oh, yeah.
And the owner, when I was working there, I mean, kind of sad and very sudden, he lost one of his sons. He had two boys, and they used to come and just kind of on Saturdays, sometimes he'd bring them in, and they just, kind of ask questions and hang out, and, kind of follow us around a little bit. They were, teens. But the one, it was very, very, very sudden and sad. And I couldn't believe how many people the owner knew. I mean, there had to be like 1,000 people at the funeral. I mean, I'd never seen anything like that. But Bob Bale was the owner, and really kind of, there's a lot of stories. He was a fun guy, but he also, like, this was in the beginning, like, this is back in the 80s. All the casinos were really just starting down at Atlantic City, and one of the big things is, he had somebody that he'd hire as a driver, and grab some people, and they'd go to these casinos after closing. I never went, but I know that that was like a big deal if you got invited by the owner to go to the casinos. And he used to go, I'm trying to think, it was the Golden Nugget, which I don't even know if it's still there. I mean, I don't go to Atlantic City personally, but I just remember that was the big thing. And he got to be good friends with Steve Wynn, who was the owner, and would just take his group and off they go, and it'd be different crowd kind of anytime, but he was very generous, and he took care of the employees very well, too. I mean, he was a great guy to work for.
Yeah, he passed away 2005, 6, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure when he passed away, but I mean, he just was a really good guy. Just very, very, very nice guy.
The funny thing is, actually his son Billy, he also ended up becoming co-owner.
Killigan,
Fine.
what's the other? There's another bar. He owned another place in Westchester, Killian's or something like that.
I'm actually not sure. I haven't come across that.
Yeah, because he ran another one, but his older brother Bobby is the one that had passed away.
But yeah. What else do we have here? Oh wait, okay, here, wait. Just a quick clarification. You said something about beer and beef. What
Yeah, beef and beer.
beef and beer. Beef and beer. What is that exactly?
Everybody, I mean, the only thing they sold, it was just like hot roast beef sandwiches and beer, and it was a fundraiser, and you might pay like, I don't know, $20 or $25 or whatever it was, like an entrance fee, and then it was like, like beer and then sandwiches, were included in it. So basically, you paid like an entry fee, but that all went towards whatever the fund was that we were, doing as a fundraiser.
Very cool.
And they did quite a few of them. Like sometimes you see, like, I don't know, like fire halls might do one, like a beef and beer. Like it's usually a fundraiser, like, it's kind of, again, before like GoFundMe. So I mean, if everybody comes in and pays $20 and you get sandwiches, and I don't think it was open bar, but it was like so many beers or whatever might be included. But it wasn't like open to the public, like you had to buy a ticket and come that way.
What kind of beer did they serve? It was old slew, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, Genesee, I think, was one of the main ones. And to be honest, I am absolutely not a beer drinker, and I cannot think of, I mean, Heineken, of course, but I remember the Genesee was a big one. That I think that was the cheap one that everybody got.
I think I read somewhere it was like 50 cents or something for a pint, something
Oh, it
crazy.
was something crazy. And yeah, and like, I mean, you go downstairs and like, they're little plastic cups, and they were like, I don't know, a quarter or 50 cents. And, so as a college student, you could go there for very little money.
Yeah.
Like you'd spend more on food.
Yeah, than the beer. Yeah. Oh wait, okay. So what about so I've read in a lot of advertisements, they mention a 7-foot TV. Where was that? Or was it more of just a like a projector kind of thing with just a giant screen?
That had to be after me, but I'm thinking it had to be downstairs because that'd be the only wall big enough. Because the bar ran the length of the room. Restrooms are on the one end, and then there was a couple like satellite bars. So I'm thinking it had to be something on the opposite wall, but that was after I was gone.
Yeah, like or it might have been. I'm not sure. Because like I was seeing stuff from like the 70s, and that was like the big thing. It was, oh, 7-foot TV. I was like,
I
how
don't
would
remember
where?
that, but no, but downstairs, I mean, it had to be downstairs. And I mean, upstairs we had two, they were mounted up high, like two tall, I mean, good sized TVs. But one thing, this is just kind of just popped in my head, but one of the singers that used to come with the acoustic, his name was John Flynn. And I think he still kind of plays in the area, but he wrote the theme song for Toys R Us. There was a song that used to be on their commercial, and he wrote that.
Oh,
Yeah, so that was kind of fun. And I'm trying to think what else. Oh, well, this isn't a funny story, but it's a true story. But when the Challenger exploded, this other gentleman, his name was Marty, I forgot his last name. I just drew a blank, but anyway, he and I were working the day that the Challenger exploded, and it happened at like 9 o'clock in the morning. And we were opening and happened to like be there and watched it at the same moment. And I mean, it was just, I don't know, I can't even explain how awful, it was to watch that and see it live. But I just remember like I was at the Rat when it happened, like there's different moments that, things have happened in your life, like, where were you with 9/11 or, different things, and you'll remember. And I was there and happened to have the TV on, and, we just had it on while we were setting up and saw that as it happened.
I can only imagine. I mean, like, yeah, how did you feel during that? Like
It was, I mean, it was like a shock, like you don't expect to see the rockets that, all your life, is exciting. You watch them go up and, and then it exploded, so it was pretty awful.
oh yeah, that's always science. It's always like the one thing you never expect to really fail, but
No,
especially on TV. That must have been tough, strange. And you were working while it happened, or were you just there?
no, I was there to work, and, we were setting up, so just happened to be on the bar side, cleaning and setting things up. And, because even though nobody got there, like it didn't open to the public until like 11, but, we would get there at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, to get everything set up every day. And, it was just, it was normal practice, have the TV on for the news and, whatever, just as background as we were setting up. And, happened to be there that day.
Man. I don't know. I can't even imagine like what that must have been like. Like that's like
And it was weird. We were the only two people there, like in the
yeah.
building.
So it's like you don't even know. You just kind of sit and watch.
And they replayed it over and over because, it's like, are you sure what we just saw is what we saw? Like,
Yeah.
So, we were there and watched that at the same time.
You said you and it was Bob.
No, the gentleman's name is Marty Kuzak, and he was
Oh.
he was the bartender. He was like one of the bar managers, and so he and I would open every day.
Okay.
But he's still in the area.
He still lives in Westchester.
I don't know if he's in Westchester, but he's in the general area.
Yeah.
But he tracked me down a few years ago, and we messaged each other back and forth a bit through LinkedIn. And I think every once, he emailed me maybe once or twice too, just kind of follow up after that. But I mean, LinkedIn is, professionally where you find everybody.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let's see. So I also have a question about so you were talking earlier about um like the room like the office filled with fake IDs and that kind of stuff. So I have an article here from April of 1988 where the police and LCE set a rat trap where they did a sort of like raid on the rat to bust underage drinkers. Do you remember anything about that?
I wasn't working there at that point.
No?
Not in '88. No,
Oh, did you hear
so,
anything about it?
no, I didn't.
Oh, I would assume that it would be uh, I don't know because like it says just ton of police 32 law enforcement officials like went into the rat to bust like underage drinkers. Um, I don't know.
No, luckily that was after my time. But I didn't do much on the bar side. I mean, I worked on the deli side.
Okay.
But here's the other little trivia thing that I was going to tell you. Are you familiar with the show The Middle?
Oh yeah, my mom loved that show. Yeah.
Okay, Charlie McDermott, the kid that plays the son. Well, his dad, Charlie McDermott, worked with me. He was one of the bouncers, and so Charlie, the dad, ended up he was a wrestler at Westchester, and then he trying to think where it is. Is the Burger King still on High Street? Like down the
Well,
street?
the building's still there. They
Okay.
closed a couple years ago.
Well, the next, I think it was the block before or block after, like around Union Street, somewhere in that area. He started a little gym, and really kind of did it to have like someplace for all the wrestlers to go. Like he got financing, started a gym. From there, it kind of became like very, very big and very popular. And then the AC, what's it called? ACAC, which is like the huge complex. That was his. So Charlie McDermott owned that. And then when his son was born and started doing acting, like I was over at the ACAC for something, and like they had meeting space, and I was over there actually for a meeting, and was talking to Charlie, and they were in the process of moving out to California because his son was just starting to do acting, and they knew that if he was going to be serious about it, they couldn't stay in Westchester. He had to be, on the West Coast, for doing that. So his wife and his daughter and his son had already started like the move, and he was, finishing up like selling, his part of, I don't think he was full owner, but selling the ACAC center, and then, moved out to California. But, so it was just kind of a fun story, but
No, yeah, that's small world, right? Like that.
but so that boy, Charlie McDermott, the son, he's actually from Westchester, and his dad was a rat employee.
Who would have thought, right? No, wait, was that did he play Brick or Axel? You're talking
Axel.
Axel. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
But he started out, he did like some those after school movies, whatever they were, the kids after school things, that all had messages, like stay in school, and whatever, like they were all like that type of thing. And that's how he actually got started, and then got the role in The Middle, and that's when they moved, to help him get his career off.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, so how about run me through so not working. So you're going out with your friends Friday night. Run me through what a night at the Red would look like. You first get there. How's the line look? Is there line to get in?
No, not so much a line. Well, depending on what time you got there, and like most people would go out 10 o'clock, maybe. I mean, it was later. But downstairs to get to the bar to get a drink, you might have like 2 or 3 people deep, pretty much all the way around it. So you have to wait to like find an opening to to get in to get a beer.
So, all right. So you get downstairs. What was your drink of choice then?
I've never really been a big drinker. Trying to think because I don't drink now at all. I don't know, probably, like vodka and orange juice type thing, or vodka and cranberry, something like that.
Okay.
But downstairs was pretty much beer. Like it was, like if you were gonna have mixed drinks, you sat upstairs normally. Like that
Okay.
was kind of the more like sophisticated, bar. Like, and with the acoustic music, but also like, during the night, like you could have a conversation upstairs where you couldn't downstairs.
Right.
I mean, downstairs was really dancing, like the dance floor would be packed. And it was a lot of, I'm trying to think, like Michael Jackson, like that was big, this is the 80s, Janet Jackson, like it was just, Lionel Richie. I'm trying to think like what kind of music. I mean, it was, but it was just, I don't think people cared what was playing. It was just,
As long as it had a beat.
and that really was what, and people got dressed up like, like normally you would dress up a bit to go out.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't just like, I don't know, like especially some of the girls, like you'd see, like you could tell they put some effort into it. I mean, because it was your night out.
Very cool. Okay. Um, what about here's a weird question. What about the smell? So it's the rat was like the downstairs bar it was a basement essentially, right? And there's all that beer all over the floor. Like what was
Oh, it stunk.
was it like
Like it's stale beer. I mean, it's just, and what was funny is, like in the daytime, it's completely different than, like at night, dim lights and everything is kind of hidden. But, in the day, I mean, and there's no people in there. I mean, it definitely had a beer smell to it.
just trying to get a sense of like the sensory kind of aspects of it.
Well, at night, I mean, honestly, it was so dark downstairs. It was like the bar was lit, but I mean, it was dark, and it was paneled wood, around the walls. So like that made it darker too.
Yeah. And there was like so downstairs wasn't there was like a main dance floor and then
Yeah.
surrounded how many bars were downstairs? Was it just one or
Well, there was the main bar, which was long. I mean, it went like the length of the place, and it probably had like 5 bartenders, like different spots. And I'm trying to think, I really am not remembering this 100%, but I think there were 2 like little bars that were just like a keg of beer type thing. Like it was just beer only.
Gotcha.
But I might be remembering that wrong. But I somehow like that's kind of what I'm remembering.
All right. Let's see. Oh man, I had something right on the tip of my tongue and I'm just blanked it. What about themes nights? Do they do anything like that? Nights
Not,
the week specials, anything like that?
not really, and it's like they really didn't have to advertise or do anything. I mean, people just came, so, and I'm trying to think. I don't remember that the downstairs was open every night. Like I think that was only open like Wednesday through Saturday. So, upstairs was like the only bar, a couple nights a week. But the nights that the downstairs wasn't open, I mean, it was just, like a quieter, just a bar upstairs. And people mostly just go to listen to the music because there was always somebody playing.
Right. Yeah, like they had live music every day or Just about?
Most nights, and like, it's a lot of, I mean, local people just wanted to play, so they would come in, play for a couple hours, and it was just, it's nice to just have like an acoustic guitar, just somebody sitting there singing, and sometimes people would jump up and join them and sing along, but at the mic, but typically it was just, one person just would come in and play.
Very
And then
cool.
they got some followings. There was a couple people that, um, like I can remember like the John Flynn, and then there was another guy, Larry Rooney. And I mean, they had people that would come whenever they were there. Like they'd have a good crowd because people liked their music and wanted to see them. And they had, like favorite songs that they'd play and that type of thing.
Very cool. And that all the live music, it was always upstairs, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, downstairs was DJ.
DJ. Okay. Very cool. I don't know if he might have been there just before you. Um, his name DJ Koz, Koz. Does that ring a bell at all?
It does, but I'm wondering if that's who I'm thinking it is.
His name was Larry. I believe.
No, I'm thinking of someone else. No, but the name sounds familiar, but I don't remember that person.
He was he's reached out to me before. He was just a DJ at the Rat, but I think it might have been like just before. I think he was more mid '80s. I
Well, then he
forget.
would have been there when I was there, but
Yeah,
I don't know that I really knew any of the DJs. And it was one of those things too, because I worked there, I didn't hang out there as much, as
yeah,
because I was there, like it's a little different. And we weren't allowed to drink or anything if we were working. I mean, that was, definitely off limits. So, it's like you get done work, you want to go home, and but I would come back, like, because I had, as I said, all the friends that I worked with. I mean, I lived with my housemates, and then also, with sorority stuff. Like I was there, quite a bit, but I also, just because I worked there, I had to act a little bit better than, some of the normal crowd.
oh yeah. Now, so what would you say sets the Rat apart from all the other bars in Westchester at the time? Like, why would you say that the Rat was the place to go? I've read that, like, I know like Jake's a little more old man kind of bar.
Yeah, I mean, Jake's was, they had the shuffleboard, and a lot of times people go to Jake's first, like you start out at Jake's, and then came over to the Rat later when there was a crowd. Um, and like the Square Bar was like just too far out of the way. And that was really, they were like the only places other than the Rat. I mean, there wasn't a lot of choice because Westchester was really just starting to build up, like, all like the stuff up and down like Gay Street. I mean, there were only a few places. I mean, there really wasn't much, when I was there, because that really all kind of came later. Um, so like the Rat was kind of like the place people could get to, because not everybody has a car on campus, and so you could walk there. Even if you were just going to the deli, you'd see your friends there. Like they could sit and chat with you. So it was a place to go.
Hmm, okay. And then were they doing like the deck parties when you were working there? Because did they own like the whole little outside patio as well?
Yeah, I mean that. No, there really wasn't anything outside. Um, I mean, it was all contained when I was there. It was all contained indoors.
All right.
So
Very cool. Um, all right, so I don't know. I think that's just about everything that I have for you.
okay.
Um, is there, if you could choose one word to describe the Rat as a whole, what word would you choose?
Oh, that's a good one. I guess social. I mean, it was just, that was the social life back then. If you wanted to go out, that was where we went.
Very cool. Yeah, no, perfect word. Perfect. Okay. Is there any last kind of things coming to mind at all?
No, I can't think of anything else, but I mean, it was a fun part of my history.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was perfect. You hit pretty much like literally every one of my questions. Didn't left me with a nothing really, no work here. Um, Perfect. Um, all right. Well, if that's everything, I can stop the recording here.